Hello, Melissa Lightfoot with eXp Realty. Today I'm going to show you how to fill out a property disclosure document, which we shorten to a PDD, that we ask all sellers to fill out. It is for both the buyer and the seller protection, legal protection, that this document is filled out. Of course, there may be some people listening to this who will say, no one can force me to fill out anything. Yes, that is true. You do not have to fill out this form. If you choose not to, we have to have you sign a form saying that you refused to sign it. Why is it so important that you fill this out? It's protection, as I said before, for both the buyer and the seller. This is you disclosing, the seller disclosing everything that they know that is wrong with the home to a potential buyer. Why is that important? Because after the buyer moves into the home, they may or may not find some things wrong with the home. If they do, if they can prove that the seller knew about the issue, let's say there was a foundation issue, which is pretty costly to repair, and they find out through, just say they contact a foundation company, and the foundation company says, well, we already went out to that address, and let's see, we have a quote here to this person, blah, 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 and the repairs were never done. The buyer is going to, first of all, they're probably going to contact their agent. The agent's going to go back to this form. They're going to look and see, did the seller disclose that there was a foundation issue? Because we know now that the seller knew that there was foundation issue. If it is not disclosed, then the buyer has a legal leg to stand on to sue the seller. So I really cannot express the importance of this form. Now, in addition to that, agents are not allowed, they're not supposed to anyway, pre-fill this form at all. Whenever I send a listing agreement in DocuSign for my sellers to sign, I usually pre-fill out that form for them to review and then just make a place for them to sign at the end or initial each page, whatever. But in this particular document, I am not allowed to pre-fill this form out because I am not disclosing anything, or I should not be. This form should solely come from the seller. So part of why I'm creating this video is because this form is such a beast. It's 9 pages of, it's just a lot. And I've rarely, if ever, received a property disclosure document back from a client, a seller, the first time, and it be done fully and completely and how it's supposed to be done. So I wanted to create a video to go through all this so that if you're if you're listening to this, then I've probably sent you one of these. If you don't have to fill this out, I see no reason why you should have to sit through this torture. So hope you have a good day, and I would peace out if I were you. So I went ahead and I pre-filled this out because I'm pretending that I'm the seller. On the first page, you're going to check all of these, pretty much 1 through 14, relate to the home being transferred to you as a seller, maybe through a death in the family. You've never seen the property, you don't know anything about the property, it's never been occupied, possibly. It's a transfer by a bankruptcy. It could be all sorts of things. Most people are going to click right here that none of these exemptions apply. In other words, you're gonna click on this and say, hey, I don't know any of the answers to any of these questions. And so that's where you would click all of these, and then you would be exempt from filling this form out. But most people are not going to be exempt, and they're going to have to fill out this form. So I'm going to pretend that none of the exemptions apply. There again, I have filled that out, and again, every single page needs to be looked at very carefully, because there's all these little boxes in the middle of the page where you need to pay attention. You need to check one box. You're either claiming that you're exempt or you are not claiming that you're exempt. Okay, I'm going to say that I'm not exempt. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to sign. I'm going to print my name, and then I'm going to put the date and the time. I love DocuSign. That's page 2. Page 3. Here's where the really important part starts. So, of course, if you're listening to this, I am not saying do not read every single sentence of this document. Read every single sentence of this document. This is explaining to you the consequences of the failure to disclose, and I summarized that for you a minute ago. The consequences of if I, as a real estate licensee, if I don't inform you to fill this out, there are consequences for that. So again, the importance of this document. This is some key definitions, other important provisions of the law. This is explaining all of that. So every single page of this document has to be initialed by the seller. Why? Because if part of this gets lost and there's not an initial on this page, the seller could say, I never saw that page. Okay, so really important. So what is the length of ownership? That just means how long have you owned the home? Okay, I'm going to say 5 years. The lot size. I don't know the lot size. Ask your agent. Your agent will know the lot size. So can the agent assist you in filling out this form? Yes. Can the agent fill out this form? No. If I tell you that the lot or the acreage is 0.5 acres, is that set in stone? Not necessarily. We're going to send all of this information. The title company will have the most important legal definition of your property. So this is just you saying, to the best of your knowledge, what you believe. Are you aware of any servitudes, encroachments regarding the property that are out of the typical customary utility services that, here's the key, that would affect the use of the property? I'm going to say no. Are you aware of any rights vested in others? These are things that are important, that sometimes there's a common driveway. Sometimes, I buy a property and I built a house behind my property for a family member, and so we have a common driveway. So you're going to answer yes or no to all of these. Has any part ever been determined to be a wetland? Very simple. You either know or you don't. Okay, most people are in a neighborhood, and so that answer is going to be no, because if you're in a neighborhood, then the property has not been determined to be a wetlands. Now, this is very important here at the end. Notice that these are sections. Section 1, we just finished completing, and I didn't bother to check each and every one of these yes or no, but you have to do that. So at the end of each section, it says question number and explanation. So let's just say I knew any of these questions was, let's say that there was a common driveway. I'm going to put right here question number 4, and then I'm going to explain. There is a home behind our home, and we share the driveway. Why is that important? Because not everyone wants a home where they're going to share a driveway. So that's important. Okay, so now we're in section 2. Wood destroying insects. Has the property ever ever had termites or other wood-destroying insects. The document is very good about saying, clarifying, at the time the seller owned the property, yes or no, because you know if it's yes or no because you're the one who has lived there. Prior to the time, yes, no, or don't know. Very clear. Why would this be yes? Because when you purchased the property, you might have gotten a document just like this where the seller disclosed that there were termites. Do you have to disclose that if you know it? Yes. Fill this form out honestly. If you're not sure, try to find the old property disclosure document that you got when you purchased the home, or your real estate agent will be able to pull that up for you so that you can be sure. Was there damage to the property? Either yes or you don't know. Was the damage repaired? Again, I'm going to initial and we're going to move on. Very simple here. Is it under contract? Name of company, the date it expires. Don't skip over these. When you skip over, I mean, of course, this is only if you have a contract, but if, let's say you do, take the effort to find when the date expires, and if you can even put a phone number or anything on this document, the more information that you put, the better. Sometimes you want to explain more than what this section allows. We're going to add an additional sheet. You can't put too much information on this document. It's all for protection. What is the age of the property? That means as far as you know, the home was built in 2002. Other structures. What does this mean? Well, we made an addition. I extended the patio. I added a sunroom. That's what this is for. Have there been additions or alterations made to the structures at the time? This is going to go up with this thing right here. You're going to answer yes or no. Were the permits obtained? Yes, no, or don't know. Approximate age of the roof. Very important. Other structures. This means there was a roof. There's obviously a roof over your house, and then we added on a sunroom, and so that has a different age roof. And you can write that in here. Sunroom, roof, age 5. And then the main structure could be age 10. Okay? Are you aware of any defects? Check all that apply, and if yes, explain at the end of the section. This is very important. If your floor is buckling in certain parts of your home and you do not click floor yes, I promise you that the buyer's agent is going to give me a call and say, really? The floors are obviously damaged? What happened? And so if you don't disclose that in this document, it looks like you're trying to hide it, and then you look shady. And then people may not want to buy the home because they wonder what else did you not tell them about. Again, the importance of being honest and forthcoming on this form. So yes, I'm just going to say everything else is good. Pretend we clicked no on everything else except the floor. The floor has damage. Has there ever, this part kind of gets confusing because there's a couple of questions on here that seem redundant. Has there ever been property damage, including but not limited to fire, wind, hail, lightning, or other property damages, excluding flood? So people see the word flood and they go, oh yeah, it flooded. No, excluding, because that's going to be a whole different section. So, did it catch fire? Whatever. During the time the seller owned it, prior to. Notice that on all the ones when the seller is owning the property, the answer is yes or no. If it's prior to, you may not know. Foundation repair. If yes, provide the warranty. Usually when you have foundation repair, there is a transferable warranty. I'm going to initial, Sometimes the bottom of a section is not until the next page. So I answered yes on number 11. So I've got to come down here. Remember, all yeses must be explained. Floor was damaged by a chemical used to clean. Floor is only damaged in primary bedroom. That's important to note the location. Okay, now we're in section 4, plumbing, gas, and sewage. Are there any defects with the plumbing system? Are there any defects with the water piping? How's the water supplied? If you have a well, we need to know that. How many private wells are on the residency? If you do have a well or a sewerage system in place, then there's a whole different form that needs to be filled out in addition to this form. It's important because you're telling the seller that you've got some maintenance that you're going to be required to continue on this home. So that's why that is so important to share that information. Is there gas on the property? Defects. Are there any defects known with the water heater? Again, how is the sewage supplied by? Initial, each and every page. Now we're in electrical, heating, cooling, appliances. Are there any known defects? I wish that, like the roof, I wish that they would ask how old the AC system is, but they do not. So I always try to ask my clients ahead of time because I know I'm going to get asked that question. But if you want to write that in on here, anywhere, that's a great thing to add. You can come over here and you can add text. Remember I said sometimes the more information, the better. The AC is 5 years old. That's awesome. Are there defects? No. Bring that down to heating and cooling during the time. No. Fireplace, does it work? Are there any known defects with any installed or built-in appliances? Security system. Now we have a whole section here on flood assistance and flood insurance in South Louisiana. This is new. Not this part right here, but anyway, flooding intrusion during the time the seller owned the property. If yes, indicate the frequency and defect at the time. A lot of people miss this part because this section is so long. It goes on all the way to it's like 2 pages later. So you got to remember, if you clicked yes on this, that you need to come back down here. Okay, what number was that? That was number 26A. So I'm going to put here question number 26A. Home flooded in 2016 with 2 feet of water. Sheet rock removed and replaced. All repairs completed. And that's probably about all you have to write for that. Generally, we want to know when it flooded, how much water it got, and was the damage repaired. Okay, so there's that. a lot of times they'll say, I don't know what the flood zone is. There's a FEMA website you can go to, you can plug in the address, and it will tell you. Is this always right? Nope, it is not. There are the best place to find out what the deal is with this flood zoning, because it's all changed with insurance, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, is through an insurance company, because they're the ones who are going to have to insure the property, and all of the insurance requirements and all these zonings and stuff have changed for them. They have a whole new classification system, and so normally when we see X, that usually means you're okay, and when we see A or AE, that usually means you're at higher risk for flooding. But that may also not necessarily be the case. There may be something called a LOMA that's overridden these classifications, and so there's all kinds of stuff associated with this. But the important thing is for this document right now is that you answer to the best of your knowledge, honestly. So we're just going to go to the FEMA website, we're going to find it, and then we're going to put it in right here. Special flood hazards. This is obvious. Is there flood insurance on the property? Yes or no? If there is, a new rule is they're requiring us now to include in the documents. So in the MLS, there's stuff that the public can see, and then there's stuff that agents can see, and there's a documents section in there where we're able to upload the flood declaration page so that people who are thinking of purchasing this home can look at that so that they can make an educated decision on whether or not they want this home or not. If the flood insurance is $3,000 a year, would that have a bearing on whether or not you want to purchase this home? Probably so. So that is why they've changed this now to say that it will be attached and is now part of the property disclosure document. So be aware of that. Private flood insurance, flood elevation certificates are very important today because a lot of things flooded in 2016 that will probably, maybe never flood again. And that's where this flood elevation certificate is important, because it shows, hey, look how high up we are. Like 80% of Denham Springs flooded, during this flood. But are we going to flood again? Probably not. So that's important information for a buyer. This is the new part that they've added. Has there ever been a flood insurance claim on this property? You've got to put in all of this information, the NFIP, all of this information now has to be disclosed. Part of the reason is because when a person who has made a claim, that becomes in essence sort of an additional loan, and when they sell this property, that loan needs to be paid off. So you're disclosing that when you go to the closing table, that this loan has to be paid off in addition to the mortgage. Flood disaster assistance, again, the same thing. How much? What was the purpose of the assistance? I told you it was a beast. Road home grant, same thing. So now we finally reached the end of that section. Now we're in miscellaneous. Are you aware of any building restrictions or covenants that would provide the use of the property as to the type of construction? Most people read this and say, I don't think so. I'm not sure why they didn't put a not known here, but just answer it. You either do or you don't. What is the zoning of the property? I don't know. Ask your agent. That's something that they can easily pull up for you. Most of the time it is residential, What else could it be? It could be commercial. It could be rural. Is it in a historic district? If you don't know, you don't know. Are you aware of any conflict with zoning? Yes or no? Are there any liens on the property? We'll find this out when the title company does a search on it, but hopefully you know the answer to this question. This is all new too. It used to just be a question of if HOA fees are required, and now they are requiring contact information and phone number for the homeowners association. And that's a good thing, because sometimes people buy a home and they can't find their HOA person, so they can't find the covenants, they don't know where to get a key to the pool, etc. We're going to initial this page. Are there streets accessing the property? That's kind of important. Homestead exemption in effect, important. Is there pending litigation? You need to know that. A lot of people skip over this. I'm very sensitive to smells. I can walk into a home and tell you if a pet is living in the home. And I personally, as a buyer, want to know that, because I've purchased a home before that a pet was had a little too much leniency in the home, and I had a lot of trouble getting the pet smell out of the home. Sometimes stuff seeps into the floors, especially if it's a brick floor or it's got, concrete or whatever. And so I may have been through that experience, and I have told myself, I will never purchase a home again where a pet has been in the home. If you answer yes to this question, you got to come down here. Well, what am I supposed to put there? I have one small dog and a cat. I guess if there were reptiles or whatever, you add that too. But why does this matter? Because, if it's 3 German Shepherds, that might make a difference. Like, I might consider it if it's only had a small dog. So yes, you have to even explain that. Here's crazy stuff: radon gas, contaminated soil, hazardous waste, mold, mildew, contaminated drywall, sheetrock, contaminated flooring, formaldehyde. You got to answer all these questions. Lord have mercy. A meth operation on the property, salt stock dissolution underneath the property, solution mining injection, or their solar panels. If there are, you need to disclose whether you own them, because if you rip them off before you move out, that's going to be a problem if you did not disclose that. Okay, we're getting to the end. Last page. I need a signature. I need for you to print your name, and I need for you to sign and date it. So, sorry that was long, but I feel that it's very important for you to understand all of this. That this is a long video, and I didn't even go through every single detail of it. So just know how important this document is, and if you don't understand something on it, your agent can assist you with clarification. They just cannot assist you with what to answer in the blanks.